Hello, friends, and welcome to the most glorious of events, the Movie Mavericks podcast. This outstanding program is hosted by two fine gentlemen, Jason and Trevor. Now make it so.
MovieMavericks.com.
Hey now everybody, welcome to episode 379 of the Movie Mavericks podcast. I'm Trevor Anderson. Send you over to Jason Rugard. He's got a rundown for us.
All right, on tonight's show, we are going to be going back to our old format. We got trivia, we got movie news, we got reviews, and we got trailers. We have it all. We are the original Movie Mavericks. Don't be fooled by any imitators out there. Less said, the better on that, right?
I don't.
All right.
Listen, just understand that you're not alone in coming up with a great name.
Exactly. There are a billion ideas, and we picked the same one, and that's amazing. However, let's go back and get into it, and let's start from the top here, guys. Thanks for listening, and as always, whatever you're listening on, whatever platform, like, subscribe, kind of follow the show, rate it, review. That always helps us, and we really appreciate that. But tonight, we're going back to the old format. We're going to start off with some trivia. I mean, Trevor says he's not the greatest at trivia, but he actually does okay most of the time. Are you ready? Are you warmed up? You think you do okay tonight?
Yeah.
All right. I like the enthusiasm.
No.
Okay, so E.T. was released this last weekend in IMAX. It didn't do great, but it was its 40th anniversary. 40th
I didn't even
anniversary?
know that. So.
Yeah, exactly, right? They just kind of quietly released it. It was sharing IMAX screens with Top Gun Maverick, which clearly outgrossed
It would be 40th, right?
Yeah, 82 to... Yes, that's 40.
Yeah, 40th.
Yeah, my goodness. That makes me... Yeah, that's right. Okay. And Jaws is coming in September. Would you go see either of these re-releases?
Well, first of all, Bruce is coming. I think is what you meant to say.
Yes, the shark.
Nah, probably not. I probably will not go out and see those. I've seen Jaws so many times. I think it's great. It really is good to see in a theater. I've seen it in a theater once, but I've seen it so many times. I don't know. I don't know if I could watch it again.
Yeah, I haven't seen it projected since we were in school, and I think that even that was, I think, off of DVD. But I don't think I could sit through an IMAX presentation of this, no matter how good. And I do like Jaws, but it is dated, and I've seen it so many times. But we both said we've seen this a lot of times. This piece of trivia caught me off guard. I didn't have the answer for this initially, so I'm curious to see if you'll get this. What is the name of Quint's boat in Jaws, the Robert Shaw character?
Oh.
What is the name? It's clearly on the back side of it.
I'm not going to remember. Yeah, I'm not going to remember. I'm not going to waste my time.
All right.
Just tell me what it is.
The Orca.
That is what it is. Damn it.
Yeah, I know that. That's what I thought too. Like, of course that's what it fucking says.
I knew that too, yeah.
Because you've seen it
Yeah, because
of
it's in my mind. I have that image of it exactly. Like when you say it, I'm like, oh, there's the boat and there's where the word is, but I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah, that pissed me off too. That's why I wanted to share that one with you. This next one, I think, is going to be a rebounder. I think you're going to do very well on this one. I was able to get this one, and I think you'll get it at least 75%.
Is it Keanu Reeves?
It's always Keanu
right?
Reeves. That's the answer to every trivia question I got from here on out.
That'd be great. Yeah, can you craft the question around the answer, please?
Exactly. It's reverse Jeopardy. What is Keanu Reeves? Okay, let's name all the actors in order who've portrayed Jack Ryan on screen.
Oh, God. In order, what's his name? Alec Baldwin?
Yep.
Is that the first one?
Yeah, that's right.
Then you would go to what, Harrison Ford?
That's correct.
And then Ben Affleck? Or did I skip someone?
No, you're right. You know what, though? I totally fucking jumped over that one. So you actually, so far, have beat me on this because I didn't even include him. But well done. Okay, you're still in the game. You still got skin.
Oh, God. Oh, now I don't know.
I know. Now it gets hard.
I'm not sure. What's the, because the Amazon show, that is a Jack Ryan show, right? Mm-hmm. With the guy from The Office.
Yep.
whatever his name is. I forget. He's in The Quiet Place.
Yeah,
John Krasinski.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. But is he next?
No.
No, is there someone in between?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not going to know. I can't. I'm not going to guess it. Just
Chris
tell me.
Pine.
There is. That's right. I knew there was a weird one because that was just like the Bourne Identity one that came out like around the same time, wasn't it?
Yeah, like in that
the
era.
The non-Bourne one, didn't that kind of like, wasn't that? Yeah, exactly right. Like the reboot type thing. Like they were trying to run reboots on those.
Yeah, with the new wave of leading men. I mean, you're talking about the Jeremy Renner-led Bourne movie.
Right.
And this was going to be a franchise starter for Chris Pine and Kevin Costner. And it was a good little movie. But to be honest with you, I knew you were going to stumble on the Chris Pine, but I totally blanked on Ben Affleck playing Ryan. And he was pretty good at it. I don't think that's a difficult character to play, though, ultimately. Because they've all been pretty good at it.
I mean, you just show up and say your lines. I don't know. Personally, I like the Harrison Ford movies the best, probably.
Yeah, I'd say Clear and Present Danger is my favorite out of the whole series.
Yeah, I mean, Patriot Game's good, too.
I think Some of All Fears is my second favorite, though. I'm not the biggest fan of the Amazon
show. That's your
show.
Ben Affleck one.
Yeah, that is my Ben Affleck one. It's my second favorite Jack Ryan movie.
I thought that was a little boring.
Actually,
I don't like the TV show at all. I find most of the Jack Ryan stuff kind of boring, to be honest with you.
It can get monotonous.
Some of All Fears, I had that problem with. I just thought it was a bit boring, and the Amazon show is way boring.
Well, it's an acquired taste, I think. I mean, a lot of those Amazon shows, I feel like, take way too long to develop. Reacher included, and Bosch, and I can name a couple other ones. They lose me by the time they start going, and by then I'm already checked out. But well done, though. I mean, bringing Ben Affleck, like I said, it's my second favorite Jack Ryan movie, and I totally forgot it existed.
You forgot about it.
That says a lot about that franchise.
You're just miffed you're not invited to the wedding, right?
You're talking about Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez?
Yeah, they're having a big $2 million wedding or whatever.
Is there any other wedding? I mean, that's the wedding of the season. I'm very upset I wasn't invited. I mean, we were down in Santa Barbara, you and I, during that first one, the fiasco of that. So, anyways, some things change and things don't. Let's go back.
Couldn't save him then. Can't save him now.
Yeah, no, I know, right? But well done, sir. Well played. Let's talk about a couple things here. One is, did you hear the news that Creed 3 was pushed from its date of November 2022 to March 2023?
No, I'll be honest. I was not paying attention. I don't care when Creed 3 comes out.
Anybody is. Did you know that Michael B. Jordan is directing it?
I did know that, which I would expect at this point, right? I mean, he kind of is that character. I imagine if he wants that to keep going, and it's kind of a big deal for him, I think, as an actor to keep that character going for at least this third movie. So yeah, I'm not surprised.
Well, did you hear the rumor on the street about why it was pushed?
Oh, guys, like a Me Too thing?
No.
Okay.
Apparently, the movie's an absolute shit show.
Again, I wouldn't be surprised either.
What I've read, I mean, with a grain of salt, because this is from message boards and.
Well, Stallone's not involved, right?
Well, the word is that Warner Brothers has issued him pretty much an open check to come in and fix the film, to possibly do reshoots on it, to do some additional editing, and this is what the rumor is. He's making such a big stink about ownership rights. He wants ownership rights, just in general, of the character, and this might be his way to do it. So they're pushing the film back, roughly 6 months, and getting it fine-tuned. And this is very troublesome in a lot of ways, because Warner Brothers needs this to be a hit. They just signed a deal where they're going to be releasing all of MGM's films domestically. So this is part of that package of why they bought it. So we'll see if this if plays out, if Stallone gets involved ultimately here, or if they can salvage something. But what I've read, once again, with a grain of salt, is that it's extremely dark, featuring rape scenes, abuse, things like that.
Why?
So things that don't exist in the Rocky universe, if you will.
Well, that's not. Well, I disagree with that. Rocky wasn't necessarily just some upbeat guy all the time. It was pretty dark, but it's at least
it's a fairy tale, man. We don't need shit like that.
No, the first Rocky's not. He's kind of a doofus. He lives kind of a shit life, and in the end, he barely makes it out of that. To conquer. But the rest of the franchise sure is more of a fairy tale, but that would be about, like, the first movie would be about the depth that you would want to hit. If you go deeper than that, you're making something else.
Yeah, they're jumping the shark, I think, in a lot of ways here. This is not.
It doesn't have to be everything. Like, everyone wants to make some piece of art, it feels like, and so they go too dark.
Yeah, this isn't the Dark Knight. We don't need to. Christopher Nolan's not at the helm of this.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of life to live and explore that isn't like so dark, right? I mean, God.
Yeah, I'm especially where the series left off with Creed 2, him having a young child. Creed 2 was basically Rocky 4 Part 2, so it was in good hands, and I thought that they were headed in the right direction. I was surprised that Michael B. Jordan got the nod to direct this, but once again, he's grown close to the character. It's his baby in a lot of ways now, so. Like I said, we'll see when this finally hits screens in March 2023.
I mean, as I would think, boxing movie, you've already made 2 of them. How could it be? How could you screw up too bad?
Yeah, and really, the first 2 directors, Ryan Coogler was fairly unproven at that point. And Stephen Caple Jr., who did Part 2, hasn't done anything since. I mean, he's on the Transformer movie, the new one coming out, but these were unproven guys at the time. So to give an actor who's been doing it for 20 years, has been around it, and supply him with a good DP and ADs and things like that, how he couldn't fall on his face, right? I mean, somebody had to approve the script somewhere down the line.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. Like, this seems like a producer error more than and also his. I guess everyone who made the movie, it would be all their errors altogether. But yeah, less his, as long as his job was to act and direct, and then. As far as it's being a good film, it will be popular and make money, that would be the producer's side. So that,
right, and marketing.
I put that on their failure. Well, marketing, you can market whatever you want, but if it's dog shit, you're gonna have trouble selling it.
Yeah, you got a good first weekend, and that's about it. And even that's not guaranteed anymore, I should say. So, all right, here's news too. Saw 10 has been announced. It's going to be a planned release for Halloween 2023, which kind of makes sense because now that Halloween Kills, which is the final entry in this current trilogy iteration of the Halloween franchise, is coming to an end this year.
Right. Is that just what we're doing with Halloween from now on? Everyone gets a couple movies, we just reboot it?
Well, yeah. I saw, not a meme, but like an internet thing where it showed the timelines and the fractured timelines and the spin-offs of the Halloween. It's bizarre. Yeah. It's so convoluted and hard to. But then, does anybody give a shit about the old ones?
I was just going to say, does it really matter? As long as it's Michael Myers, and it kind of does his Michael Myers thing, and you don't screw that up too bad, you're good, right? It doesn't particularly matter. And at this point, it's already so broken that it's almost fun to know that is how it, and where it's broken.
And it also ultimately means that there's going to be more Halloween coming, which is kind of half the fun, no matter what. But anecdotally, I was talking to some teenagers, and they were talking about Scream, and they referenced Scream this and Scream that, and I'm thinking they're talking about the 1996 film. No, they're talking about the brand new one. They could give a shit about that one, previous one, because to them that's the Scream. That's Scream.
That makes no sense to me though, because that's like that's not a remake. That's just like the next installment.
And the new one is not even going to have Neve Campbell, as we know. So does it really matter? I mean, these new characters are the new somewhat legacy characters. There's Jenna Ortega and whoever else survived. I think Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son was one of the kids that survived.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. I mean, we'll talk more about the actual movies in the review section, but I think a movie like Prey makes a lot more sense for people who aren't aware of that franchise to talk about like a Predator movie, and they would talk about that movie because it doesn't have anything to do with any other stuff. But like the Halloween movies have Jamie Lee Curtis in it still. Like it doesn't make sense not to know, and the Scream movies as well with the Neve Campbell and all the other characters that come back. It doesn't make a lot of sense to talk about that movie like that's the Scream movie.
I would say that those Halloween movies, this new ones, those you have to be more familiar with the past than the Scream films. I felt like the homage that's being paid to Halloween and the Carpenter ones is much deeper than the nods that were in the Scream one that just came out. I just felt like it was more.
I guess it's just weird to see a movie because those aren't like prequels that came out after the fact. Like that movie is a dead sequel to the franchise. It's like the next installment. It's just weird. I agree. It'd be like watching the. Well, I get what you're saying because we have the Star Wars shit, and people will talk about wherever they were born at, right? What time period, versus those are the Star Wars movies, which trilogy they talk about. I guess it makes sense. I guess it's weird.
Well, I put it like this: I felt like Creed 1 was, or even Top Gun Maverick, is paying reverence, where I feel a lot of stuff is just playing lip service. It takes me out of the movie when they do the throwback stuff. Whereas in those two examples I gave, I felt like it was woven in perfectly. Oh yeah,
those are both great for that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, here's another bit of interesting news. Check this out. I read this too. I wanted to bring this up to you because we both have very differing opinions on the Thomas Jane Punisher film, right? The 2004 Jonathan Hensleigh film. You're not the biggest fan of it, if I recall.
I like the movie. I just think it's stupid. If that makes any sense. Because he's like the Punisher, and he goes, and the guy's like right down the street, right? They might as well be across the street from each other through the whole movie, and they just don't like all he's got to do is go over there and kill John Travolta. I don't get it.
I understand what you're saying. There's a lot of like Shakespearean type double crossing that's going on in this. Yeah. It's almost operatic in a lot of ways, but it had a Sam Peckinpah type vibe, a down dirty vibe too to it that I really enjoyed. I thought Thomas Jane was pretty cool.
It feels like it's very much kind of like in a cheaper version of The Crow in a way, like the way that some of it looks.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll go with you on that.
What was the Marky Mark movie where he was the Max guy? What was that movie called? Was the video game? Max Payne. It reminds me a little bit of that, which also I thought tried to be The Crow.
Yeah, I would say that it was heavily inspired by that. Although I think that the Thomas Jane Punisher movie has a little bit more of a Western vibe, and Max Payne is more stylized in some senses. But I did really like the Punisher 2004 with John Travolta. I mean, given aside what you're saying, and I can't disagree with you because they do circle each other for way too long in the film, but I think it has its high points.
God, that movie came out in 2004?
2004, because the sequel, which starred Ray Stevenson, was 2008. And that thing tanked Warzone, which had its own set of problems, but whatever.
I didn't think that one was that bad, but I did see it on video.
I didn't think it was that bad either. I just thought it was tonally, just leagues different from what we've gotten so far.
I mean, hands down, that's what it is. But it was fine.
I think Roger Ebert summed it up pretty well, where he said it was a good-looking bad movie, like production design-wise and how it was doing. But at one point in the production schedules, that they were talking about doing a Punisher 2, and Rob Zombie was attached to direct it, which I thought was kind of an inspired choice if he would have gotten the nod. But he was kind of kicked out of it, and then, this is even more interesting, I think, that Lionsgate turned down the offer from Walter Hill to write and direct the sequel. And I think he would have been a perfect choice for that material.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Out of the two, would you like to have seen a Rob Zombie Punisher movie or a Walter Hill Punisher movie? Because one's going to be more over the top than the other in different ways.
Well, I tell you a couple things. I like Rob Zombie as a person. I hate Rob Zombie as a director. Walter Hill all the way, man. I fucking loved Bullet to the Head. And yeah, for that to have been like more of a superhero type movie, and it kind of was in a way. He's kind of done superhero type movies. Did you ever see The Assignment?
Oh, great movie with Sigourney Weaver and Michelle Rodriguez. I won't tell anyone the trick there, but that's a great movie. And that's kind of a superhero movie, in a weird way. And a huge reversal.
So yeah, the Warriors and stuff. Yeah, I would totally, I'd totally be down to watch a Walter Hill version of Punisher. Yeah, it's too late now, but
me as well. And Lionsgate, the brass there rejected Hill And this is when Jane basically said, you guys aren't interested in making a good version of this. I want nothing to do with this. And they recasted the part after that. So we never got either a Rob Zombie or a Walter Hill version. In reference to what you said there about Rob Zombie, the only Rob Zombie film that I want to say recommend or would watch again was the first Halloween that he did. I thought the second one was almost unwatchable. I've never enjoyed his other films that he's done. The Munsters looks interesting from a trailer standpoint. I'm intrigued to see if it's a shit show or if it's a nicely done homage to the television series, but I don't have much faith judging off that trailer. But I would have liked to have seen what he would have done with the Punisher, but I think it would have looked a lot like what we got in 2008 with that Warzone, because that was kind of a freak show.
Yeah, but at least he tries to work in some intelligent stuff into almost all of his movies, and the subject matter is so ridiculous in a way that I think people disregard the intelligence that he's actually putting into it, but it's there. So yeah, I'd love to see that.
All right, let's talk about Emily Blunt here. She's not talked about enough, right? I mean, this lady is in almost every movie I feel like that comes out. Yeah, exactly.
Talk about her now.
Krasinski there. Emily Blunt, who recently was with Dwayne Johnson in The Jungle Cruise and pretty much every third movie that came out in the last couple of years, is reportedly joining Ryan Gosling in director David Leitch, that's the guy who did Bullet Train and one of the co-directors of John Wick, in their reboot, a big screen reboot of The Fall Guy. This kind of sounds like Hopper, the old Burt Reynolds film, that they're going to do something like this, because Leitch is a former stuntman, and this is going to be a loving ode to the stuntman, I'm sure. But Ryan Gosling, for some reason, I feel like, seems intent to want the career of Ryan Reynolds. What's going on here? I mean, we'll talk about... I don't know why.
Ryan Reynolds doesn't have that great of a career.
But I mean, all of a sudden, he's picking these projects, Barbie, Fall Guy, Gray Man...
Yeah, I mean, he is, well, I mean, Drive, come on. He was doing kind of Reynolds stuff beforehand. I guess weird, serious things. I mean, does it get more Ryan Reynolds than The Notebook? Come on.
Oh, that's true. But at the same time, I feel like he was working with really named directors and being somewhat picky about his projects, and
he was being more
artistic.
Worse, very serious. I mean, I'll admit that, yeah. Or at least he seemed to be being more artistic. Artistic. Did I say autistic?
Well, either way, I mean, he's making money hand over fist.
Artistic, yeah. Then Ryan Reynolds doesn't seem to really give a fuck as much. He's kind of, I guess maybe that's just his persona, or maybe that's him, but that's the attitude he gives out. And Ryan Reynolds, for better or worse, gives out more of that, I give a fuck,
Yeah, I'm having a hard time buying this new commercial Ryan Gosling, especially after his Andy Kaufman-esque interviews with the press, and just somewhat difficult. I feel like he's difficult to deal with in a lot of ways, and he's amusing himself,
after
and
La
he's in
La
on the
Land
joke.
And because when you think about like Drive, or even
I mean, Blade Runner 2049 is fairly artistic.
I was going to just say that even after that, and that would be like the big budget sci-fi movie, but it was artistic, right? It wasn't like fun or whatever, like what the Ryan Reynolds movies would be. So
it's not a Marvel movie.
I don't know if he's. I'm not sure if he's, because the Fall Guy might not. Will be pretty serious, right? I mean, I imagine it will be.
I imagine this is going to be a total spoof of the show. I mean, the show wasn't very serious. I would think that this is going to be
but the way they're going to do the well, I guess serious in what way? Like heavy, I mean, because like John Wick's not serious at all, but it's a heavy movie, like it's a serious movie.
Oh, I mean, I remember the Fall Guy being a comedy show. I like Dukes of Hazzard.
But you don't think because I hear like Leitch and stuff. I think like we're going to get some real action that's going to be serious action, even though it's ridiculous.
I would put it more on the lines of Hobbs and Shaw kind of action.
Mm-hmm.
PG-13-esque. I mean, that's just what I would guess.
Yeah.
All right, so the directors of John Wick, David Leitch left, and now Chad Stahelski is the one that does this, and he reported that John Wick 4 will be the longest running of the series in terms of the running time, and that exceeds Part 3's 130-minute runtime. How do you feel about this? I feel personally like this series has gotten a little too self-indulgent, and this is leading me to believe that
if this is the last one, then okay. More. If there's more after this, then no, stop. But if they're going to do some big blowout, then fine, I guess.
Even so, the first one was such a tight, compact little, I think, an hour and 45 minutes.
The world that they're building, or that they have built, is so off the walls at this point that they're just doing whatever they want.
Talk about writing yourself into a corner. I feel like this is the series that wasn't meant to be a franchise, or
no corner. They've written themselves into just open space. I feel like it's just, I don't know where they're going. What's going to happen? What are they going to do? It doesn't matter. They just make it up. It feels like that at this point, after watching the third one anyways.
I actually prefer the third one to the second one. How about you?
Sure. I think, well, I'd say they're both almost equal in my mind, but I do think the third one's a little better than the second.
Yeah, I think it moves a little better.
I think I was just going to say, I think the second wanders a little bit more than I would like to. And the third one feels like it's more, kind of knows where it's going a little bit.
The second one takes interesting deviations, but they're not always successful. Whereas the third one is pretty straightforward in what it's trying to do.
Although it's weird too, man. It goes all over the place too. I don't know. Those are weird movies. They don't compare to the first in any way whatsoever. That first one is just lean, mean, and friggin' awesome.
Fucking efficient is the best word I can describe for it. Fucking efficient. Okay, let's talk about Tom Cruise, who's been speaking lately about his future movie plans. I mean, this guy has proven himself to be the movie star we knew he was, right? Is this not the summer of Tom Cruise?
Well, he's the movie star I needed, that's for sure.
And I think that it's been proven that everybody forgot.
He's also the movie star I wanted, but he's both.
It's unbelievable that that Top Gun is cruising to $700 million, which is, what your upper echelon Avengers movies make.
I mean, I don't know that it's that. I think people are coming around to that Tom Cruise character, right? With the Mission Impossible movies have done so well going forward, and there really isn't anyone else playing that kind of a goofball who's slick and serious, but also willing to walk all over himself. Kind of, he's not perfect. He doesn't do everything right, but he thinks he does. But then he realizes he doesn't, and then it's like this non-complex character that I think everyone likes. Like, I like it.
There's a shift in. The beginning of Mission Impossible 4 is everything that I hate about the Cruise persona. Right. That jailhouse break sequence, I can't stand it. And it's an absolute mistake on everybody involved in that part.
Too. It's a break of the Tom Cruise character. He's a douche in that.
There is a redeemable moment later in that movie for him and for that film in a lot of ways. And I think it kind of sets the standard for the rest of the time for the character that we like. And that's when he's hanging out the window in Dubai, and Jeremy Renner says to him, "The rope's not long enough." And he looks over and says, "No shit." And it's that exasperated kind of everyman, like, I gotta fucking do this, but I don't know how I'm gonna do this, that Harrison Ford pulled off so well in the Indiana Jones movies, that, he has this self-deprecating kind of aspect to him in the Mission Impossible movies lately, and in this last Top Gun movie that wasn't there in Oblivion and a couple other ones that didn't do so well.
I'll agree to that point. I mean, it's there in The Mummy, though, that Tom Cruise character's there. That movie's just so terrible. He can't save it. But yeah, the Tom Cruise character is something that it's just been generated over time. It's in Mission Impossible 2. It's on full display there.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just a fun time because he is a douche. I mean, when you think of Tom Cruise, you think, oh, look at that A-list douche millionaire guy running around acting like a douche. But then he's like, yeah, I am a douche. And you're like, oh yeah. He knows. But I'm
he's
a douche. Of course he is. But he's like, yes,
I fucking do.
Of course I am. It always reminds me of what's Cameron Diaz's movie? The Night movie?
Night and Day.
I can't remember anything. Night and Day.
I'm the guy.
Which I love that.
You're the guy.
This is the guy. This is the guy. This is the guy. I'm the guy.
I'm the guy.
It's fucking like, that's the moment. Like, that's the Tom Cruise character right there. That movie's a great, fun movie that's almost built entirely around that character and makes fun of it in some weird way, but at the same time, it's seriously just the character. That's the Tom Cruise character.
That movie would have done better if it had been released now than it had been released in 2010. I love that movie.
I think that's one of the lost Tom Cruise movies that no one ever talks about. That is surprisingly really fun to watch.
I just revisited it recently after we saw Top Gun, and it holds up spectacularly well. If you haven't seen Night and Day, watch it. It's a great little view, and like Trevor said, it's really the forgotten Tom Cruise movie. I would also add another one to that list, which isn't quite as quote-unquote fun, but is also the overlooked Tom Cruise movie from that era. It's Valkyrie, which is free on YouTube right now. If you haven't seen that, that's fantastic as well.
It is. I just find that hard to watch more than once.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a fun view.
That's one of those movies. Like Last Samurai, I think is a really good movie, but oh my God, it's so long and kind of intense and just too much. And after you've seen it, you're like, all right.
Yeah, once you know the beats, it's not that fun any longer. But there are a couple movies that are coming up here on Cruise's board, on his dream board. His vision board. Sound promising.
I totally believe he has a vision board. You know he does.
Oh, he wakes. It's on his eyelids.
Oh, you know he does.
Yeah, he's got AI that tells him what he's doing in the morning. Number one is to get a sequel to Edge of Tomorrow out. So Edge of Tomorrow 2.
Yeah.
He is still actively developing, which I think another overlooked movie from Cruise in the last couple of years.
At this point, that sequel has a chance to really break out because people have fallen for that movie, especially on home video and stuff. I think that's garnered quite a following.
Yeah, rightly so. I mean, outside of confusion of titling Live, Die, Repeat or Edge of Tomorrow, however you want to say it.
Or how silly it kind of looked like this silly sci-fi movie, but it's really good.
Yeah, that was a movie that was mismarketed from the jump and surprised the shit out of me when I saw it. And I think most people, and like you said, the awareness of that has grown. So I think that if a sequel did come, it'd be huge.
It's the Tom Cruise character that makes, as much as the Bill Murray character made Groundhog good, the Tom Cruise character makes Edge of Tomorrow good.
And he's such a puss in that movie to start off with. You know, he's such a coward weasel.
Yeah.
It's a nice. We talk about a character changing throughout the film. It truly is there on screen. Then he says he has a musical that he wants to do. Don't know if that's the greatest idea, but you know, getting away from action franchises, I understand the want.
Everything's a musical now, right? I think the next
he already
Predator
did Rock
movie
of
is going to be a
Ages.
musical.
He even co-starred in that. So. Oh, and this also sounded interesting. They are going to be moving forward, they say. I mean, I'd be surprised if this actually got off the ground, with a Les Grossman comedy. So the character he played in Tropic Thunder, they do want to do something further with that character. I just don't know, what they could... If it's Harvey Weinstein that they're poking fun at or somebody like that...
Yeah, would that not work anymore?
I don't know if... Yeah, I think that time has passed. I don't know if you could really... Especially in the landscape that Hollywood is today.
Oh, well, yeah, right. Well, especially where that guy is at right now. Like, I don't know how you could possibly do that. That'd be like making a Ron Jeremy movie right now. Like, that's not going to work.
I got it. Here's $1 $100 million idea for the studio. You started off, he's in prison. You don't say what he's in prison for, and he's reminiscing on how he got there. And then we put it together.
Yeah. Now he gets out, and then he's like, all right, I'm out of. He gets out of prison, and then he's got to go back to Hollywood and work his way back up to the top.
Oh, that'd be great. He's got to do the menial jobs and be on the mail room, and then assistants and all that kind of stuff.
But will he? When he gets back to the top, he's got to control himself. Can he do it?
I'll tell you right now, no.
I mean,
none of these assholes can.
Oh yeah, obviously. Yeah, no one would want to watch that. I mean, I would, just because I would think would be weird that would exist. But yeah, that would be a terrible idea for a movie.
Unless Ben Stiller is writing and directing that, I'm not too interested in that myself.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could go, if you go dark enough, it could be funny enough. Like Tropic Thunder had its moments. I still don't think you can make a whole movie out of that and have it work. That's too touchy of a topic.
All right, let's talk about some actual movies now. I want to talk reviews with you. I know we've had a lot of movie news, and there has been a lot of things to talk about in the movie world, but there are movies out there, and you've seen a shitload of them. We're only going to focus on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them for tonight's show, but we will have regular shows where this is going to be our format again, and we will be discussing movies very regularly. So
I only have 5 down here. What's the 6th? I'm interested to find out, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I'm throwing things at you.
I guess
to start off, let's talk about the number 1 film in the country on Netflix at least, and that is Day Shift, directed by J.J. Perry,
like,
who comes from the 8711 crew who did John Wick. And this is the Jamie Foxx vampire hunter comedy, action comedy that takes elements of, like you had said to me previously, Men in Black, mixes it with...
It's kind of like an R.I.P.D.A. It reminded me more of like a lesser Men in Black type movie. Something that has that vein of like people working for an agency to, fight something. Here it's vampires instead of aliens. But, I mean, I guess John Wick technically has kind of the same thing.
Well, the idea is that there's
an agency,
something going on underneath our noses, and there's already an agency taking care of it that we aren't aware of.
And it's you go into like an elevator, and that's how you get going through the elevator, secret door, and then there's a whole big place. Never knew was there.
In terms of Netflix programming, I put this one up on the enjoyment scale on the upper echelon. It's not high art, but this is the kind of fun little throwback. Reminding me of movies I would rent from the video store and really cherish if I was about 15 years old and this was a shitty VHS copy. It seems a little less than what, especially after watching The Gray Man, where they threw so much money at it. This one seems like it was filmed a little bit cheaply, but I really liked how the made San Fernando Valley look. I really enjoyed the soundtrack selection of it. I thought
the music. Mm-hmm.
Jamie Foxx did it. I mean, I think it's cast very well. I really like how Jamie Foxx was doing his thing in it. I thought that the gal playing the head vampire, the real estate agent Audrey, was really good as well. Basically the villain in it, the villainess. And I don't have many complaints. And in terms of sequels and potential franchises, it's all right there. And I actually would return to this world a little bit more freely than, let's say, the Suicide Squad or Bright or some of these other pre-made franchise-ready entries that we've had of oddball characters and oddball situations. Because that's kind of what I thought here was, they're doing like a James Gunn type thing, even a little bit better than the last couple of James Gunn movies I've seen. So I do recommend it.
Well, I guess it's nowhere near as smart as a James Gunn movie. But I like Dave Franco in it as his little sidekick guy. I thought that worked. I thought the twist
the humor
at the end
really works
with
in
what
this,
happened
right?
to him. I thought what happened to him in the end, I won't give it away, but I thought that twist was really kind of a fun twist. I had no expectations for that whatsoever.
It turned into Idle Hands,
so it definitely
didn't it, for a
sets
while?
up. Yeah, I mean, it definitely sets up a universe and a possible sequel going on, but. It reminded me a lot of like an Odd Thomas type movie where it's very episodic. You could see more. I mean, we're not going to get any more of those, but you could see where there would be multiple ones, very easily, and they would all be kind of self-contained, rather than like a John Wick, which kind of feels like almost like the same story that just keeps going on and on. Like a sequel to Day Shift, seems like it would be a different Day Shift, right? It'd be like a different problem. He'd be fighting more vampires or something else would happen. But yeah, I just thought this was a lot of fun. I mean, I would definitely say this is one of the better Netflix movies. I think most of the Netflix stuff's unwatchable. It's not very good. But they do have a couple of them, and I would say this is one is it. And I definitely would recommend it. As you say, it's a good, easy watch and lots of fun.
And there's no agenda behind it. This is just fun. This is just,
no, there's absolutely no political, nothing, anything. It doesn't have anything to say other than vampires are bad. Well, maybe not. Hey, maybe. Well, that's a little political. Are vampires bad or not? Can vampires be good people?
Are they even people?
Why don't you watch Day Shift and find out?
I did like the chemistry between Fox and Franco. I thought was really well done. Even I didn't know with their age difference how that was going to go, and I thought Dave Franco was overplaying the role in his first few scenes, but I thought he settled into it nicely. And the bits about don't get this in your butt and things like that, and there was a lot of humor in this movie that I wasn't necessarily expecting. I thought this was going to be more along the lines of a Blade, and I'm glad they didn't just go with a Blade. My favorite line in this whole movie is when the vampire heaves Fox and he says, "That motherfucker threw me up the stairs." I mean, I thought that was the way he said that was so perfectly timed. I thought, okay, this movie's really firing on this. Has a cool little car chase, and J.J. Perry, the director here, former stuntman, shows off his skills at doing all the action stuff. But the movie doesn't lag. It keeps pace pretty well. It's not bloated in terms of runtime.
I like movies like this. Movie sets itself up and sets up the world. And it shows you in a fun way, right? He hunts down 2 vampires at the beginning of the movie. Big action sequence, big this and that. And once that's done, it's just him living his life, doing his thing, trying to do what he does. You know, whether there's a movie or not, this is what this guy is doing in this world. You know, kind of feels like. And then after that, once the world's kind of set up. And we do have intersprinkled in like the bad guy and what's building there, but before all that comes to a head, right? We've established the world, and it's a silly little stupid little world. But I like movies that do that. Totally. Like Men in Black kind of did that. If you watch Men in Black, it's almost the same exact thing, right? You have an action sequence at the beginning. He finds out something weird's going on. You know, it's different, obviously, but it's kind of the same exact thing, which is what I mean by this being kind of a Men in Black thing. And RIPD is the same way. And I can't think. There's other ones.
Yeah, there was a slew that were like this, but those are the 2 best examples you can come up with, honestly, to illustrate the point, because those are, I think, on the higher end of those genres. But I mean, overall, the movie for me is a recommend. It's not going to win any Academy Awards, but I would watch this a second time, which is more than I could say for most of the Netflix originals that I've watched throughout the years. This was fun, and it was never going to be released in a theater. Doesn't have that pedigree, but is perfect for this kind of streaming stuff. And I really do think that this is going to have at least another film. And you know what this really reminded me of? Was Dead Heat. You remember the old Joe Piscopo, Treat Williams film? It had a lot of that kind of feel to it, where it's at times it was very serious, or tried to be a little bit more serious.
I got the VHS here. I got all of it, man.
Of course you do. Look who I'm talking about.
Dead Heat's a lot of fun. Dead Heat is obviously, I mean, the difference between Day Shift and most of the other movies that we're talking about, as far as like remembering watching movies like this, even on cable or specifically on VHS, is that it's like professionally shot. Like Dead Heat looks like shit compared to Day Shift. True. I'm just saying, but honestly, because like the difference between, you said like this looks a little lower budget and stuff, the difference between like low budget nowadays for like a Netflix movie that has to deal with all these special effects and stuff, to like something that was like more of like something you'd find on VHS back in the day, it's huge. I mean,
those tapes sometimes would have scenes that were almost so underlit you couldn't see what the fuck was happening.
Oh yeah, the VHS is terrible. And actually, the DVD is pretty bad for Dead Heat, especially has some of those really underlit scenes. But I think there's a Blu-ray. There might be a better transfer of that now. Oh.
I would hope so. The movie deserves a clean transfer. It's a fun little flick. Okay, let's move on and talk about Lightyear. This was the big Buzz Lightyear film that came out in theaters and then tanked. I don't want to say tank because it made $120 million, but really an underperformer for Pixar. Yeah. It was released fairly quickly on Disney+. I caught up with it, and I don't know what I was expecting, but certainly not this, which was very much more adult-themed. I mean, the first 25 minutes of this movie, this character suffers a great loss with people aging out and dying, and turned into Up for a second, and I got a little wrapped up into this movie, and I don't know, like I said, what I was expecting, but it wasn't quite this. I know there's been a lot of complaints about Chris Evans' voice. This didn't bother me at all. I wish they would have acknowledged it a little bit. That, hey, I hate this action figure. They could have done something cute, but
no. But that wouldn't have been in this movie, right?
Well, this movie, come on. There's a Star Wars influence. They basically have lightsabers. It's pretty much.
Well, yeah, but that's in the other. So my whole problem with this is that there's no way this is the movie that spawns the toy line for Buzz Lightyear stuff. I don't buy kids watching this movie and thinking, oh, I got to own these toys. This is not. It's just not a very good. But this movie reminds me of, the Lost in Space live action movie that came out in the 90s. It's just weird. It's just not what you would have expected from this. And what they did with Zurg was just weird. Like, why can't you just make a straightforward a space action movie? Why does it have to be so weird?
I couldn't believe they were spending so much time on this aging. You know, when he's trying to hit the rings in the beginning and he can't get it, and he's aging out,
That's
and then
what
the
I'm
cat's
saying.
this super thing, and then the cat's going to get put down.
I mean, it's just not exciting enough. It doesn't. It's not. Like, they are more excited to be Space Rangers than they actually show you that it is exciting to be a Space Ranger. Like the characters are more excited to put on the suits. Like, oh boy, we're putting on the suits, and then they don't really do a whole hell of a lot.
I gotta say, though, I thought the film was saved for me, and this is why I give it a marginal recommendation, by the supporting characters, especially the goofball New
It's
Zealander.
not a bad movie.
And I thought it's been a while since I've seen one of these kids' animated films, and the animation level is so top notch. The sound
great.
design,
The movie looks good. Yeah,
it's a beautiful looking thing. There's not a frame that's not full
it's not a
of
bad
amazement.
movie. I think people would watch it. I mean, I agree with you. The voice, the Chris Evans voice, is fine. I just don't think it's the right. It's just not the movie I would want it to be. So, I guess
I
my
just think it was made
expectations
for the wrong
were,
audience. To be honest with you, and if they were going
It's
to,
just the wrong
pander
movie.
to us, then at least make it interesting to us. I mean,
I
would
love the
say
first
that
two
Titan AE
Toy
is
Story
better.
movies, especially Toy Story 2 is probably my favorite, which is not a popular opinion, but if you watch those movies and then you watch this, there's no way this is the movie. This is not the movie, man. It's just
I've
not.
only seen Toy Story 1, and this is the other one I've seen, and I had no correlation factor. I thought it was a cute idea
Well, it's
when
not
the
a
title
bad
card
movie,
came
though.
up.
I mean, I'll admit it's not a bad movie. It's just not the movie I would have wanted it to be for Lightyear, for the Buzz Lightyear movie. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. But you're right; it does have that up aspect to it. It's interesting to watch, even though it's not what I wanted. It's at least they do weird stuff. But again, I feel like it's more like Lost in Space, which is kind of what it is exactly. They get lost in space in this movie, and then it's just like putzing around trying to get off the planet. It's like, what are you doing? Do something. Don't maroon your freaking character somewhere who's this awesome, space marine guy, and just have him try to just sit around.
Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys?
There's
These
not a
Zorgs
bad guy. There isn't a
are the
bad
bad
guy
guys,
in this movie.
But is it also the people on the base who want to shut it down? I mean, the commander.
No, there isn't one. It's just dumb. Like, I expected to be more of a Star Warsy, actiony, toy selling movie, right? Which this is not. I don't believe kids were buying toys for this movie.
Well, I'm giving it a modest recommendation. Are you giving it a negative?
No, I'd say it's fine to watch. My complaint is, I think I've said my complaint. So but it's not a bad movie.
Yeah, it's not a bad movie. It's not as bad as the box office would lead you to believe, and all the backlash that was coming.
Well, it might be
towards.
because it's not what it. Well, it depends on what the backlash is, but it might. Like, I would know if I had saw the seasons in theaters, I'd be even more upset. So I don't know.
I think little kids might enjoy. I mean, I don't know. I think little kids, especially little boys, might enjoy this. I think that overall,
but of course, have you
lacks
seen
the
all the
magic.
shit that's out there that all the kids watch? Of course, they'll enjoy it. I mean, yeah, it's professionally made. It's not cheap and cheesy, but hell, have you seen from our childhood versus our childhood, even at a very young age, versus what kids watch today? Wow, do they watch some shit? I mean, unwatchable
Yeah, they watch
shit.
YouTube videos of little kids driving and shit. I mean,
shit. No, but even like the little kid stuff for the preschoolers and stuff that's out there is just horrendous. And yeah, I don't know. I think kids will watch anything. So
Thomas the Train movie, that was, I thought, the low point for children's films. But
what about Dougal?
I mean, Dougal. How about Oogie Loves? Remember those? The Oogie Loves. All right, let's move on and talk about Prey, which is the big the Hulu release, trying to compete with Netflix. These are all the streaming wars, and this was Dan Trachtenberg's Predator sequel, and he was trying to keep this under wraps for a long time, that this was having to do with Predator, but it came out, and this is I know we're of differing opinion in a lot of senses, I assume, on this film, because I actually got caught up in this. I watched this on the first night it came out, before all this, press that it's getting for having...
Oh, no, the press came out before the movie came out.
Well, I guess I wasn't reading
maybe
it because
if you didn't pay attention, then that's perfectly fine. But it was out there already. They were building up this thing like you wouldn't believe.
And I would say for me that I did enjoy it. I thought that this was competently made. I think that Trachtenberg is a good director. I think that 10 Cloverfield Lane is still his best film that he's made that I've seen.
By far, yeah.
But I do think that there are moments in this film that do really work. I thought that, having very little description, reading it, kind of knowing that it was about a female Native American fighting this predator, things I didn't enjoy. One, I thought it had a fairly extended first act that it didn't need. I thought we were kind of meandering a little bit, and then things started rolling in the second act.
Oh, quite
and
a
then,
bit, yeah.
Finally, completed.
And it didn't build character. I mean, my biggest complaint about this movie is that we spent a long time on the Native Americans and didn't learn anything about them, which I thought was a waste.
The Predator hovered around the story for quite a while without being engaged.
What they did to the Predator in this is horrendous, in my opinion. They treated him like a monster and not like a character. And I think that was a mistake. Oh, that's my biggest gripe with this movie.
Why redesign it? What's with the redesign?
I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm fine with that. If you listen to all the, this becomes just too much fandom nonsense. Everyone's like geeks out about there's different species, there's this and that. I'm just like, I don't care. I honestly don't care. Just don't make it stupid. And this thing's like this Predator is dumb. I mean, it's really dumb. It doesn't think about anything. It doesn't really do much. It attacks the fucking snake. I mean, at one point, it was going after the wolf. It was going after the rabbit. I damn near expected it to just kill the rabbit after it killed the wolf because it was just like indiscriminately killing things. It wasn't until the bear that I thought, oh, okay, here we go. Finally, something that a predator would. I mean, could you imagine being a predator and coming back with that little tiny wolf's head? The other predators would laugh at you. You know what I mean?
On a safari.
And here's a snake. They would laugh your ass off the spaceship, Yeah, so you get the bear. But this is the other problem with the bear. He lifts that thing up over his head and throws it. Like, okay, so now that's a horrible setup because now this girl's going to jump on top of him at the end and go, head to head with it. I don't know, guys. Like, this movie feels unbalanced throughout the whole thing. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it, man. I didn't. Well, it's not to say I didn't like it. It's not a bad movie. It's fine. It was entertaining. I thought it was good for streaming, quite honestly. But there's just too much that I wanted it to be better at. Such as setups, right? This thing's the king of foreshadowing. That's the only setup that this movie knows. It just shows you things that you're going to see again later. Like, that's the weakest setup ever. Like, when she finds the buffalo for whatever reason. We have to see how bad the white man is. I mean, not to mention how ugly like the French people are in this movie, and how like Abercrombie and Finch, the Native Americans are.
Yeah,
it's like the
beautiful.
complete opposite of what you see like in possibly in like westerns and things. Like, it's just weird. Like I think this whole movie's kind of weird, man. But anyways, when the predator finds the buffalo after she's found it and put the flower thing on it like looks at the flower. And then it looks at the cigar, and that's it doesn't think anything. It doesn't do anything with that information. It just looks at it because you're about to see that cigar in just a couple scenes later. It's like, this is not a setup, man. I will say the homages were really good though,
yes.
Because they were there if you knew, but they didn't matter to the story, which would make sense because this takes place before any of the other Predator movies. And so it kind of makes sense that any homage the characters shouldn't, recognize or say anything about, right? Which is nice because this wasn't like a fan movie, at least.
It wasn't the fan film that I thought it was going to be watching the first trailer. I'll say that. So that I was really surprised at that. I also thought the third act was really well done. And I think that Trachtenberg's shot selection is nicely handled, especially those long shots he has of them walking through the jungle with the torches. It's all dark around them. They're the only thing lit in the shot. That really gives me that sense of horror and fear that the first one does. What it really is lacking is a score as well that has some sort of foreboding in it.
That's what I thought too. The score's not very good. I don't remember any of the music from this movie.
They should have used the original music, to be honest. They tried to use that Horner music. Pony up. You have the rights. It's 20th Century Fox.
I don't know what they could have done. I don't remember the music now that you say that at all.
It's not memorable at all, and that's what I thought was really missing in this, was some sort of memorable themes, or at least a throwback, or at least a little kind of, just maybe a tinkle of something that lets us know where it's going to, because it has a sci-fi element with that.
I mean, I don't know. The Predator's awfully overpowered in this for her, and as far as the tracking shots, there's that one tracking shot in the beginning of the movie where she walks through her village. I just think it's god awful. Like, it's so long and it has no point. It doesn't show you anything. She's just walking amongst teepees. I'm like, okay, is this supposed to have value to me?
I think it was to show off the production design more than anything.
But that's what I'm saying about this movie. Like, that's not... why spend so much time on that if you're not going to do something with it? And show me what these Native Americans are going through, what their life is like, and how that might portray and how they're going to fight the Predator. Instead, it's very much like how a child would see this, in my mind. Her just constantly throwing the axe, and then she adds the rope to it to pull it back. It just, that's something like a 13-year-old would come up with. It's
simply written, I'll say that. But then again, all the Predators have been fairly simply written. McTiernan just turned that first one into a motherfucker.
More fun, I guess I would say. Well, I will say that I wouldn't compare this to most of the franchise because it's just a different type of movie anyways. And I don't think...
the gore is really toned down movies, as well.
You thought it was toned down?
The violence, I thought, was toned down in this. You didn't think
so?
Well,
the human violence is. I mean, I guess, like, what I would have liked to have seen would be him, rip out the skull of a human, but we just get to see the animals.
It's more the animal thing.
So it is less violence against the humans, but it's pretty bloody still.
It is, but it just in terms of that shock value, there's not a lot of shock value. I just don't think it's that.
It certainly, as Rolling Stone puts it, is not the masterpiece of the franchise.
That's ridiculous.
And people who are putting this as their number 2 pick, I also think is wildly misplaced in the lineup of the franchise. But I don't even know that I would include this in the franchise. And they're already talking about wanting other movies based on this, and I don't think you could do a sequel to this, but I don't know with the gun. Is it a sequel? Because are we going to explain the gun at all? How that works out? Does the Predator come back and kill everyone in the tribe, and then that's how they get the gun back?
I mean, that's going to have to be...
They got to get the gun back somehow, right? So are we expecting a direct sequel to this, or are we going to start doing Predators throughout time?
Which would be more interesting.
Yeah, honestly.
Until you get to the Jack the Ripper Predator.
Right. But that would be weird too. I don't know. Predators in time, where like, how many times can you make this movie?
I think we've come up against
different
the wall.
People. I know. It almost feels like this is a new beginning, but also kind of the end in some weird way.
Yeah. This is, to me, this
like
is a nice
one-off.
It's a one-off, but it's a nice send-off to the franchise. This is a proper putting it to bed, as far as I'm concerned. I would rank this one personally as my third favorite in the franchise. I would put it behind Predator 2 and just above Predators, the Robert Rodriguez film, which this reminded me a lot of.
Predators.
Okay, so you would place it
only
fourth?
Because, and again, because my major complaint, I want to see Predator as a character, and they really made him out to be, or her, I don't know what this one is, but they made it out to be a monster, and they shot it like a monster. It looks more monstrous in this. It acts more like a monster than like a thinking predator, something that would hunt you. It just doesn't seem like a hunter. It seems like a killer.
It's more of a slasher. It's an unstoppable force coming after you, as opposed to thinking and being cunning like it was in the first film. And even the second film. But I did think that some of the problems... Well, my big problem with Robert Rodriguez's film is that Topher Grace character. I hate that character. And a lot of the stupid... when they find Lawrence Fishburne, it reminds me of in the fucking John Wick when they find Lawrence Fishburne halfway through and he offers him shelter. Yeah. It was like a trend for a while to find Lawrence Fishburne halfway through your fucking movie. And he was your guy to like, oh, here's the next 25 minutes of the fucking second act.
I mean, I'm not saying any of the Predator movies are perfect, aside from the first one, which is friggin' awesome.
Perfection.
But yeah, I mean, this is a fine installment. I just wish it's one of those movies that I watch and I realize, oh, this is pretty good. why do they make these decisions? If they chose to do it this way, it would have been so much better. And that shit just eats at me, like when I watch a movie like this,
I guess, like I said, I saw it the night it came out, fairly late at night, and I had not read anything on it. So I thought for what it was, I thought people were going to actually shit on it. So I thought I was fairly bold for saying that I enjoyed it. And then now all this hurrah has come out about it, and it's not worthy of that praise, but I do think it's worthy of a watch. So I do give it a recommendation. Yeah. And it sounds like you do too, as well, with strong reservations.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, much like Lightyear, this is not a bad movie. I'd say watch this. It's just not the movie that I wanted it to be, but that doesn't make it a bad movie.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, let's move on and talk about The Gray Man, which was Netflix's $200 million action opus starring Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, directed by the Russo brothers of Avengers fame. And this is one of the most contrived, overproduced films I've seen in a long time.
But you didn't like The Gray Man?
I thought this was so poorly done. Honestly, I did not enjoy most of this. I thought Chris Evans, from the minute he came on screen, was playing the same character he played in Knives Out, that smirky little prick. I didn't think that Gosling was very good in this, and I thought that every scene was trying to top the scene before it, to where I became bored in this movie. Didn't you think that at some point, talk about Bayham, this is Michael Bayham amped up without the connective tissue to me. I really did not enjoy this film. Did you enjoy this?
No. I mean, as far as like forgetting that you're watching a shitty movie and you're just watching an action scene play out, okay, if you can manage to do that, then you probably find this movie perfectly fine. But yeah, I have a memory, so I remember the scene before, and this is a movie that just keeps going nowhere. It's building to nothing, but it's so loudly that it's just like, wow, what the hell are you doing? And it reminds me of a movie that I actually do like, but a lot of people hated, which is A Man from U.N.C.L.E. The remake of that, which I actually really liked, but I completely understand why people didn't like that movie. And this is, I feel like for the same reason people didn't like that movie, I don't like this movie.
And I had the same reaction of that movie, and this is, it's all for naught. Everybody went through a lot of trouble to make it look very good, but in the end, you have nothing here. There was nothing on the page that was worth putting to screen. I
am as tired as Ryan Gosling looks at the end of this movie, but when you watch this, it's like, oh my God, like you feel like you've been beat up too, because it's just on and on and on and on, and everyone's such a badass, for no reason other than just they are a badass. I'm like, I don't like these characters.
This was such a strange experience because I know they spent the same amount of money that they did on Red Notice, and I didn't like that movie for other reasons. I thought that movie looked kind of cheap in a lot of ways. I didn't like
those characters, though, either.
Neither did I. I thought that movie was having a hard time delegating screen time, and it was judiciously given out.
Yeah, that was that movie's problem. This movie is everyone's... Well, no, it's similar. Everyone's trying to outshine each other in this movie, too, I felt like.
I thought that the Razzie Award nomination should be lined up with the amount of overacting that was being done by people Evans. That can't act.
Oh, God.
Evans with that tight mustache and kind of little clipped way he was speaking. And then you have Gosling, who looks disinterested most of the film. I know that's the character and
that's
and
just Gosling, though, isn't it?
But I just thought, like, everybody's cashing a fucking paycheck here, and Netflix is throwing money at the screen, and none of it is... Do you know what it reminded me of also was The Saint, which is an older movie that had a lot going on constantly, but wasn't involving on any level.
The budget, though, I think would be the biggest difference between that. But you're right, very similar.
It was very busy, but I never got involved, and a lot of shit was happening constantly, and you're like, what the? Just after a while, I just gave up in this fucking movie.
I think the costume
and just let it play before
changes or whatever in that movie were so just too weird.
Yeah,
because it was comical, but they didn't act like it was. You're like, this is too much. You're doing like Austin Powers here. What are you doing?
Yeah, particularly when Val Kilmer dressed up as like the Jim Morrison guy and tried to seduce the scientist. That's pretty fucking comical. But I mean, I hate to say that Gray Man to me is totally forgettable and on the lower rung of the Netflix films that I've seen so far, which was really surprising because I thought I was going to like this one. I really geared up to like it, and about 5 minutes in, after that first scene, I thought, oh, we're in trouble. And then 20 minutes in, I was kind of getting bored.
This is how I've come to understand Netflix movies in general. They have terrible titles like The Gray Man, and then it's just about the Gray Man. That's as far as they came up with some shit.
Well, I think that they're interested in getting you to click on that and don't care about any sort of rewatchability, and I'll never understand that business model, because even HBO films or Showtime films, cable films in the 90s, which are these today, had some sort of value to them for the most part, or rewatchability or topicalness, and this is just shit. I mean, this is just well-produced shit.
Maybe because this doesn't play in a loop somewhere. It's a choice, you know. Like as you say, they're trying to get you to click on it. That may be the difference. Whereas in HBO, it's going to play on a loop. They're trying to get you to stay on the channel.
That's true. And to be fair, some of these films on repeated viewing, or when you catch parts of it, you kind of grow to like certain aspects. And there's plenty of movies over time that I didn't like initially, and then you catch
but not
clips
a lot
of.
with the Netflix movies, though. I don't think there's like Spencer Confidential. I think is a movie that I can rewatch.
Absolutely. Day Shift, we just said.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Day Shift. I think I'd have to have a little more time between viewings on Day Shift, but I mean, there's not a hell of a lot of the Netflix stuff. And Stranger Things is not a movie, so I'm not going to count that.
Right. I mean, but they're not shy on spending it, but I would never rewatch Red Notice or
Never again, no.
Six Underground, any of that stuff.
I won't. No, I don't even like those movies, though. I mean, I literally don't like them. So, why do I have Netflix?
I have it just to stream through it and see what I could be watching at any given time.
Yeah,
or to go, hey, that's number one that's number one on the service. That's number two. The Derby.
All right.
Okay, let's move on and talk about Moonfall, Roland Emmerich's sci-fi epic disaster film about, well, what they told you it was about was the moon falling from the sky. What the film is really about is space creatures living on the moon, which is my big disappointment with this film. I was ready for some good Emmerich fun.
I was ready for Geostorm.
And exactly, which I thought was fun. And this was not that. This is space worms that are basically taking over people, and it's an invasion of the body snatchers meets Geostorm, I guess, is the best way to describe it. I
don't know what this is.
But
I
what
think
the
it's
fuck
Independence Day in some way.
This is so poorly done that even I was thinking that, Emmerich, this is Midway was cheaply done, but at least entertaining and had moments in it that really did inspire some sort of awe and just captivating me in the war scenes and the planes and whatnot. This had none of that. This was so fucking bad. Easily his worst film, worse than 10,000 BC. Not worth a watch at all.
Yeah, I liked the cast. I'm trying to find good things to say about this right now.
The cast is lost in this film.
I really,
Halle Berry
like
seems confused. I do too, but
yeah, she is confused in this movie.
The writing of this film is so confused that you don't understand her relationship with Patrick Wilson.
No, it's all confused. I know, but I liked what this movie wanted to be, and I wanted it to be that. But this isn't even a movie. Like the past couple of movies, I've said that it wasn't the movie I wanted, but it's not a bad movie. This is just a bad movie.
It is.
And it's unfortunate because I think Roland Emmerich, just saying that name makes me feel like, it's going to be a fun movie. It's going to be a big movie. It's going to be fun. But I guess I've wiped my mind of all the bad Roland Emmerich movies because aren't they all bad?
Yeah, Independence Day Resurrection is
honestly,
awful.
Every single one of them. I mean, even Godzilla. I love Godzilla. It's not good.
No, it's not.
Like what 2012 was when he did,
not
right?
Particularly well done. No.
Yeah, Dance with Tomorrow. They're not
the Patriot's
good, right?
The Patriot's good. Let's be honest.
That's true, but that's not. That's very different.
Yeah, that is his outlier there.
I would say the disaster Roland Emmerich movies, then I'll say, are the ones that. I don't get how he keeps getting money for these because they're not good. I want them to be good, though. This has to be
the end of the line. It has to be for him on this.
I don't know. I think that there's a team up with Uwe Boll in the future.
I think Uwe Boll's doing second unit, maybe even doing first unit stuff on this. I mean, that's the kind of blocking and acting. I felt like the actors were literally confused at what they were supposed to be portraying in the scene. And I was confused on how they were.
There were moments when the Halle Berry was like, the way it would swing between people's storylines and things. It was like, oh wait, we forgot about Halle Berry. Oh no, she's still in this movie. Here she is. You're like, where's she been? And even she's like, okay, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I was surprised that this movie tanked worldwide, and not any longer after seeing it. I really thought that, people maybe just dismissed it, and this is going to be a fun ride. But when the bait and switch happened, and this turned into a creature feature, I was just not on board with that. And if it had been at least done interesting, or if the creature looked cool, anything to lay my hat on.
It wasn't even like much of a creature.
No, that's what I'm saying. It was this was done. It felt cynical all around. This entire production felt cynical, and I hated it. I literally hated this film. One of the worst of the year.
All right, good.
All right, let's move on and talk about the last that we have for review for tonight, and that is Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. This is the Paramount Plus exclusive. We've talked about Netflix films, we've talked about Hulu films. Now let's talk a little bit about Paramount Plus films, the bastard stepchild of the streaming world. And this is a 90-minute feature, the first one since 1996 that starred Beavis and Butthead. And I gotta say, for the first 10 minutes, I was really kind of thinking, man, these guys are a welcome return. It's been a while since I saw the stupid jokes, and then they go to the NASA Space Center and they're playing with the coupling, and they get so good at doing the vulgar movement that they become astronauts. And I thought, this is going somewhere. And then about 30 minutes in, the movie really takes a disappointing turn when they're sent to the present time, because they don't really do much with it outside of a few gags about Siri and falling in love with Siri, which has been done to death. But I thought that was kind of clever with the phone and paying for the phone stuff. But the movie languished for the last 45 minutes and didn't. The most of the laughs of this movie, or all the laughs for me, were in the first half of it, and the second half was kind of a boring slug.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Do America, but even that is a hard watch to go back to, and this movie is even worse. I thought it's really just as you say, when he first starts, it's like, oh, this is going to be good because I like Beavis and Butthead, but it falters. It just goes nowhere, and it goes nowhere fast, and it does for a long time. Like even the when they're controlling the spaceship thing, it's the dick going into the thing up and down. They're so good at it, and this and that. Okay, I get it. It's honestly, it's not that funny, but this thing just beats jokes like that. Just beats them dead, basically. I don't know. It's not a very funny movie. I don't know. I recommend watching the reboot show, which is what you really want. You don't want this movie. You want the reboot of the show. It's good.
I haven't watched the reboot of the show because this amount of exposure to these guys after 25 years was just about enough.
It's the show's way better than this. I don't even know why. I don't understand why this. Honestly, if I had written this script or had this script and was like, this is not, I'd throw it away. This isn't the movie you're going to make. To hell right of this thing.
It did seem a little odd coming from Mike Judd, who's pretty sharp with his writing. And I thought if they were going to do a feature, this would be the best stuff, not the most mediocre stuff.
He didn't write this, did he?
I thought he did. I thought maybe he didn't. Maybe that explains a lot then if he didn't. I thought
maybe he...
I thought he was involved with the writing of this.
Yeah, he is. He did write it.
Yeah, because some of his jokes feel like they're Mike Judge jokes. And I thought the phone stuff was about the only thing that worked, but having the astronaut who thought that she killed him, and now she's this political
that's
person
what I'm talking about.
running,
there was so much.
That all goes nowhere.
But there was so much of all that throughout the whole movie. It just felt like there wasn't enough Beavis and Butthead stupidity, I guess, in this. I would like to have seen more jokes and more just fun stuff. I don't know. Beavis and Butthead it's a time killer, and this movie was just a time waster. Like, it was so slow. Like, they were just trying to fill the time up. Whereas if you watched a Beavis and Butthead show, or even the old ones, those episodes go by in like a flash.
Yeah, they really did. Especially because, most of the time it was just music videos, right? They're barely on screen. But no, I agree with you. And maybe these guys were better left off in the 90s, but it was a welcome return for a brief moment.
It's good.
Or the old film, for that matter, which I think is fairly hard to find.
Yeah, Do America is still fun. No, I think it's streaming on Paramount Plus.
I revisited it during the pandemic on DVD, and I forgot that Bruce Willis and Demi Moore were voices in it. That was they were like major characters in that. And I forgot that was when Bruno was still being cool and lending his voice to hipster shit. All right, let's talk trailers. We have not talked about trailers for a long time, and Comic-Con came up recently, and they had a slew of trailers that they released. We're going to talk about 4 on tonight's show. These are all coming. 2 are coming up. What's that?
I mean, 1 I can understand was at Comic-Con, but more than 1?
I want to say 3 out of the 4 that we're talking about were at Comic-Con. Yeah. The first at the top is John Wick 4. This is the last chapter, supposedly.
I thought
right?
This was the sequel to The Matrix that we actually wanted.
Right. Remember they were going to come out on the same day, and we thought, oh no, what are we going to do? Turns out it would have been it's in no danger of losing to The Matrix Revolution, no matter how bad this movie is.
Oh no, but I would have made the mistake of seeing The Matrix instead of this.
Me too, to be honest with you, because of my loyalty to that franchise over the years, and to where it could have gone. But this has got to be better than that.
Oh, it has to be. This trailer to me looks like I would not be. Yeah, first of all, I wouldn't be surprised if this movie actually came out and was like the whole time this is The Matrix, because I think that should be. I think we should start doing that. Like, you tell me the Fast and Furious movies don't take place in The Matrix? Come on. Of course they do.
I mean, have you seen those movies? Have you seen the mashing up of Shazam 2 in the Fast and Furious? Because when he says we're family, I mean, people are doing that now. So you're onto something.
But that's The Matrix. Come on, you have seen the way they fly around and do the shit. That's The Matrix. There's plenty of stuff like Mission Impossible. That takes place in The Matrix. Come on.
Whatever happens at the end of John Wick 4, I just want him to collapse from exhaustion, because this has basically been one long week.
Right.
Literally in the story. So it's, even though he travels to Egypt and all this crazy shit, it's basically one continuous timeline with not a lot of breaks in between day-wise. So, but this to me looks like more of the same, which is a good thing in a lot of ways, but it does look like they're upping the ante in terms of the weapons and locations.
Yeah, I think it looks fun and good. Personally, I don't know. I would watch this.
Yeah, it looks like exactly what I'm expecting from this franchise. Right. So it looks like it's in good hands. It's got a ticket sold already from me. I'll be seeing this in theaters. I'll be bitching about the length of it, I'm sure, because I thought part 3 was bloated, although at home it plays a little smoother than it did in the theater for me, the last one that is. But I am a fan of this series, and I do like what it's doing, and I think that it's the last hard-boiled action series that we're going to possibly ever get. In terms of violence on this level and this big of a box office hit. I can't think of something else that's this violent that sells this many tickets. A hard R action film that's doing a Fast and Furious level business. Yeah. Can you think of another series? I can't.
No.
Yeah. Maybe Mission Impossible, but that's PG-13.
Yeah, that's not I wouldn't say that's the same as this.
No, I agree. What would you think of the trailer? Are you up for it?
Yeah, I think the trailer's good. Like I say, the trailer looks like The Matrix. It looks like a Matrix movie. I know why. So I'm down for it, because it's literally, when I was watching this trailer, I thought, oh, this is literally the Matrix movie that I wished I had gotten. So yeah, I'm good to watch it.
I mean, if you think about it, you got Keanu Reeves, you got Stiletsky, who the director of this, who was the stunt double for Neo in those movies. So you got most of the creative team of the Matrix.
Fishburne, he's right in it.
Yeah,
it's everything I wanted.
There you go. Yeah,
we can minus Carrie Ann Moss. That's fine with me.
Well, we can minus the writing and directing of that last film too. I would like to just forget that last Matrix film even existed, because it's maybe the biggest disappointment of last year.
I mean, there's no way I'm ever going to own that. There's no way I'm ever watching it again. There's no way. As when I refer to the Matrix movies, I only refer to the first 3, which is sad, because the second and third ones suck. So that should give you an idea of how bad that fourth one is. The second one
doesn't suck that bad. I've revisited it many, many times. I do think it's got a bum rap.
I watched them, but they both suck.
That freeway chase is badass. I love that freeway chase.
Yes, there are moments in both of those, but they're not good movies. They're super bulky. They're all over the place. They don't know what they want to be, but they're miles better than that fourth one.
Yes. Not even close. Not even fucking close.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about Shazam 2, because this one I want to dig into a little bit, because you did not like the first Shazam. I really enjoyed it.
I liked the first Shazam.
I thought you weren't the biggest fan of it. I thought you were kind of lukewarm.
I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I liked it.
I thought it was one of DC's better efforts. It really surprised me, even though I guess I just didn't have much knowledge of the character, so I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't big. And yeah, right. And then this one here looks like it's, once again, I don't want to say more of the same, but expanding. It's the family theme and trying to keep everybody together because they're so busy now fighting superheroes and
and they all have superpowers now.
I hope this doesn't go the route of superhero movies that I hate, which are, man, I don't want to be a superhero anymore because it sucks to be special, so I just want to be normal. I can't stand when the superhero wants to throw away his powers to be fucking normal. They've been mining that territory since Superman 2 back in 1981.
I didn't really get that with this trailer, though. It felt more like, how do I deal with being a superhero rather than I want to not be a superhero.
You don't go Peter Parker Spider-Man 3 on me.
No, yeah, because he's more interested in keeping the family together, but everyone's kind of doing their own thing. I don't know. It doesn't feel like he's trying to hang it up. It feels like he's trying to deal with I don't know, having a full-grown man inside him.
Hey, now. I think that if he tries to hang it up or tries to deal with the family, he's going to try to hang it up to get everybody to come together, try to convince them all that they should just be normal kids again. That's my fear for where this film goes.
I mean, that might be kind of what he's trying to do, but I didn't necessarily get that with this. They wanted to be in the family. Like, he wanted to I guess, fight the bad guys all together as a family. That's more of like what I've got from this. I hope that's what it is. I can't imagine it would be the other way around because there's too much superhero stuff in this trailer for them to be trying to get rid of it.
I think is well cast in this role, and he looks like he's got that gee whiz, I'm so excited kind of look going in most of this, and that's what really appealed to me about the first one. So I'm excited to see that. I thought that at times the first movie was a little too precious for its own good, and this trailer looks like it's got some of those moments in it too with the parents. But I think for family entertainment and superhero films, at least this looks breezy enough to where it's not going to be so mythologically heavy and 2.5 hours fucking long, Eternals like, I should say. That at least this looks like
this is kind of like their Ant-Man, but it's a little more family friendly, I would think, because he's kind of exists in his own world in a way, rather than all the other DC characters. He's kind of separate from them.
Well, he's such a fanboy of Superman too. It's kind of it's even.
I do have the Zachary Levi Shazam doll here. Oh, excuse me, action figure.
Yes, it's an action figure, and it stays in the packaging.
He is in his packaging, and he is here.
It's worth more in the package. God damn it! All right, let's talk about Samarit. This is Sylvester Stallone's superhero film that was supposed to be hitting theaters in 2020, was pushed back numerous times, was going to be hitting screens August 26th. And then is going now to be dumped on Prime. Amazon Prime on August 26th, which I think is very unfortunate because the trailer for this is extremely promising. And I'm not saying that just as a diehard Stallone fan. This to me looks like what Hancock should have been or could have been. I really like this idea of the retired, almost Zeus-looking. He looks like he should be on Mount Olympus in this movie with his hair and his beard. But I like the costume design here. I like the action that I've seen. I mean, there's a lot to be seen, obviously, with the movie, but so far, so good as far as I'm concerned here.
Yeah, I think this looks interesting. It's a little bit darker. I'm not sure how they're going to play around that so much, but it is just a superhero movie. It reminds me a little bit of like a M. Night Shyamalan type deal. Mm-hmm. But again, I don't want to say more serious, but it's a little bit darker than even than his stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about this one, but I do think it will be fun regardless anyways, because Stallone will be a character, and he's always fun to watch. And so, yeah.
It's directed by Julius Avery, who did the movie Overlord. I never caught up with Overlord. I think you saw it and highly recommended it. Am I right about that?
I don't know.
The Nazi film? The monster Nazi film from a couple.
Right. As I remember it, it was okay.
Okay.
I
thought
don't
you
remember
were
it being
pretty
that
keen
good.
on it for some reason.
No, people made a big deal about it, but it was okay.
Well, this one's coming to you on August 26th. I'll be watching it the first night, so expect a review on a future episode from both of us very shortly.
Yeah, I'll be watching it too.
And they're pushing it pretty heavily already. They got all the Stallone films lined up on Prime because they're doing Stallone Week.
They're doing Stallone Week, yeah, right up to it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well. I think people are gonna watch this. It's weird that it's weird to see like Jamie Foxx do his movie on Netflix, and it's kind of like Will Smith, and then he did a movie on Netflix. Now you have Stallone doing this, and
Mark
it's kind of
Wahlberg.
like the Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, it's almost as if the streaming services are really actually cashing in on actors, or trying to.
Well, the studios aren't paying them what they wanted to be paid or what they thought their estimated value is, and these streaming services
I guess not, which is interesting. And I don't know, does that mean these people have inflated values, which I think they do probably if they're looking at a lot of their box office stuff. But as we said earlier, like the pay per click, the play per click, like what these guys are looking to do as far as these streaming services go, maybe they're worth a little more here.
Just to back up what you're saying here, Will Smith was paid $30 million by Apple for his next film with Antoine Fuqua. DiCaprio was $30 million for his film with Apple. Brad Pitt's going to get $30 million for that racing film.
But some of these companies have such deep pockets, like Apple and Amazon, right? They're funding a lot of these movies outside of their subscriber base. This money's not coming from that. Netflix, of course, is borrowing heavily to do this. So I don't know. Does this all end in disaster?
I do. I think so. I think that there will be one streaming service and it will have all of this at some point.
Well, bro, when I look at most of the streaming, like movies made for streaming and stuff, it's kind of a sad catalog. It's not like really a catalog that I'm like, boy, I wish I owned. Like, I would not own the majority of that stuff on disc if that's the way it came out.
I think the two that I would own was Spencer Confidential and Day Shift at this point from Netflix.
Yeah, well,
and,
I would probably...
from Prime, maybe the Joseph Gordon-Levitt film where he was the pilot. Was it 747?
I mean, that was really good, but I don't think I could watch that more than once.
I just mean like in terms of art value that I've seen and things that have stuck with me that weren't just forgettable.
Well, I mean, Samarit looks like something I would own, so it would have to be really shitty to let me down at that point.
Yeah, I hope not, but I'm fearful because it's being released directly to Prime. But then again, it takes so much money to launch a film. Although the box office is so slow right now, I think it could have done well. But that's just me being biased, I think. All right, our last film for the evening is going to be The Beast. This is Idris Elba's film that is coming out, I believe, this weekend on a very slow box office weekend. This is a story, presumably about a father protecting his children from a ravaging pack of... Is it lions? Tigers? Lions. Bears? Oh my!
No, only lions.
It's been a while since we had a good lion movie, and I think the last one that I saw was Rogue, the one starring Megan Fox a couple years back.
If you want to call that a good lion movie.
Then I saw Primal, the one with Nicolas Cage, where he had that thing on the ship that was loose. So I've seen a couple of these type movies, but I think
they've not been good.
The gold standard of the lion hunting movie has to be The Ghost in the Darkness, right?
Obviously. Which is actually a really good movie.
It is. It's like Jaws on land in a lot of ways. And I don't think that any other of these movies have ever come close to capturing what that movie did. I don't know if it's because I was younger when I saw it or what. But
no, I think it's because of the way you make a movie. Like if you look at this movie's made like it's Jurassic Park. Like it's
looks awful. Right?
This looks awful. This looks fine. I'd watch this, but it doesn't look like there's much of any substance here. Like I was talking about, like this looks like a moment from Jurassic Park where they're stuck in the car and there's dinosaurs running around the car trying to get them. That's looks like this entire movie.
Oh, this has all been done with Cujo. That whole sequence has been done so many times with so many different types of animals trying to get in the car.
So this is going to be a by the numbers movie.
Yeah, this is a late summer programmer.
It'll be fine to watch, but I couldn't imagine watching this in theaters, really. I think this will be You watch this at home, you'll be fine. You'll enjoy yourself, and I think it'll be fine. But this is not anything to remember. It's not. I mean, if you're gonna do like a creature feature like this, though, I mean, one of the things about like the Ghost in the Darkness and stuff, and that I feel like a lot of these movies, these creature features are missing out on is, I'd like to see these. And maybe this movie has it. I'd like to see these creatures as characters. They have some sort of character to them that I can see them working, doing something, right? Maybe even root for them a little bit.
Well, this is the kind of movie where it's totally gonna be necessary on the plot and what's going on, the contrivances there. That's when they're gonna show up. It's not something that would actually be a thinking beast and thinking laterally to what they're doing. Because the best versions of this, that's what's going on. But this looks like it has none of that. But this does remind me of other August, just kind of theater dump movies like Anaconda, Hunt for the Blood Orchid, the second one.
Yeah.
And I always wonder who actually buys a ticket to this shit in the late summer. You know, who's going to because these will sell a few tickets and it'll probably make under 10 million, but it'll be dumped on streaming fairly soon after, so it's a quick hit. But if the market wasn't as slow as it is now and the offerings as weak as they are right now, I don't think this ever even gets the theatrical release. It's surprising to me Samaritan didn't get the release, and this does. And this is The Beast we're talking about here for those that missed that at the top.
Yeah, I mean, I think having Idris Elba in it obviously makes the big deal, right? That's what gets it. That theatrical release does.
Does it? I mean, he's got that kind of drawing power?
For a movie like this, like a little horror movie, yeah, probably.
I don't know. That movie Fall, which is fairly gimmicky, that's out right now, didn't do very well. So I would be surprised if this grosses more than that grossed last weekend. The one that Lionsgate put out. Did you see that article about Lionsgate?
No.
By the way, can we talk briefly about the CW? Have you read this article?
No.
So they had their earnings call today, and they released this. They're getting mocked mercilessly that the average viewing age. Guess what the average age of the average viewer is for the CW? Take a wild guess.
I would guess 13 or 14.
58.
Wait, what?
58 years old.
That can't be right.
It's all this company called Nexstar Media, who does all their reporting for their shareholder meetings, I guess, reported this today. And the internet is having there's already memes about it. You know, the grandma from Titanic is on one of these memes. It's great. This is just great. So all these horny teenager shows are being watched by older people.
Yeah, like that seems really really odd to me. I
would have thought 40 was exorbitantly high, but 58 is mind-blowing.
Well, if it was like Sci-Fi Channel, I could believe it. But the CW seems to cater to me to young females.
Always has, I thought.
No. Like the shows will start out and there will be normal shows, and then they will divulge into what the CW is. After they run out of things to do. But yeah, so that's weird. I don't know why would those people want to? Why would someone that age want to watch a CW like superhero show like that?
Well, I know Kevin Smith's sitting at home probably crying into his vegan pizza, watching those shows, and his age is probably 55. So maybe it's that older comic book fan. You know?
Maybe you're right.
So I think it's that older comic book fan that gets caught up in it. But I was just blown away. I knew I had to tell you something, and I'm glad I recalled that before we got off air, because that fucking cracked me up, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's weird.
CW has come a long way in their programming over the year. I mean, from where they started off with Two Homies in a Spaceship, which is a real show they did, to where they are now with The Flash after 9 seasons is pretty impressive.
Right. Well, I mean, remember the CW is the WB.
Yep.
And Paramount.
Yeah, all put together.
If anyone remembers the Paramount Network. And
remember Spike?
And yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, Spike Network. I mean, there's been a lot of
Blade,
that have come and gone. Rebrate. Yeah, Blade was a great television show.
That was at the end of it, though.
Yeah, it was. That was the entire marketing budget and production budget they took on that show. Yeah. That was that. maybe it was your typical creature feature show, but it was still fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. Well, it's been fun doing this show tonight. We want to thank you guys. It's going to wrap it up for us. We want to always thank you guys for supporting the show. It's been a blast talking movies, trailers, trivia, all that kind of stuff. If you haven't, go back and listen to our past episodes available on Pandora, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, wherever you're listening to. Please follow, like the show. Speaking for Trevor Anderson, I'm Jason Rugard, and we are the Movie Mavericks.
Oh my, another magnificent episode has come to an end. If you're craving more, set your destination to MovieMavericks.com, Warp 9. Engage!